It's time for Leo to take the spotlight, and it's where they love to be. Today, we are exploring essential oils and aromatherapy for Leos. So, if you're a Leo, we're talking all about you. And if you're not a Leo, you probably know one because they like to let you know when they're around. So, this will be helpful for you as well. Welcome to someone who looks very Leo esque today, the lioness herself, Liz. How are you?
I am like the sun, and I think Leos do like to be the centre of attention, so I thought I would bring it today.
Now, we don't normally talk about our qualifications, and this is a qualification that I still am waiting for my certificate to come through in the mail. But I believe that I have a degree in Leo. My longest relationship was a 13-year relationship with a Leo. Now, his sun sign was Leo, his moon sign was Leo, and his Mercury sign was Leo. So it was Leo, Leo, Leo all the way. So I definitely know a lot about the goodness and some of the challenges you may experience from a Leo as well. So let's dive in and look at them. Leos, as Liz said, they are represented by the sun, and the sun is the center of the universe. They do like to be in the center of the. They like to be center stage. They've kind of got that stereotype of loving fame or the spotlight or that type of thing as well. Now, this may not necessarily mean that they need to be a leader or they need to be in the performing arts, but they will like to be recognized. They're not someone who necessarily likes to kind of dip into the, slip into the shadows or be in the background in that way. They'll make their influence known one way or another. What I find about them though is they are really so heart centered. They're so loving, so kind. When they are in their good form, they are very hospitable, very compassionate, very inspirational, all those types of things. They like to bring light and love and joy to the world. And so when it comes to essential oils that work really well for them, I'm going to take a broad sweep today. Normally we choose a certain essential oil, but I'm going to say pick a citrus. You can pick whichever citrus you like. And I think all the citruses, which have that strong connection to the sun as well, work really well with Leo. You know, in doTERRA, there's an amazing blend called Citrus Bliss, which is a range of citrus oils and a bit of vanilla. Really nice because remember also Leo is about pleasure, leisure, and play. And vanilla really brings in that pleasure and playful aspect as well. So I think citruses overall embody Leo really, really well.
Yeah, as I said in last week's episode, we don't know what we're going to say. Each other's going to say, and top of my list is grapefruit. Not from a medical astrology point of view; it doesn't really have that much bearing. But I think I would say that grapefruit is like you but on a really good day, and I think Leo is always on a good day if they can be, they've always got that bigger spring in the step. They always have the bigger personality. I think the best possible word to describe a Leo when they're in their good phase is radiant, and that, as you say, the citrus energy is all about just sunshine coming out of them, isn't it? I think that's a really good suggestion.
Yeah. Now we could like you recommended grapefruit. I could recommend one like I like green mandarin possibly for them. But who are we to tell a Leo what to do? Leo's going to tell us which citrus it should be as well. Now, because Leos do like to be winners, another oil I find works really well is laurel. Laurel has a strong connection to Apollo, the god of the sun, and so it is also associated with poetry. Again, that artistry and that creativeness that's associated with Leo. It's also associated with the sun again. And so I find laurel is a really great one to kind of bring in that aspect of shining bright. It allows laurel, I find, helps you to bring out your best as well. But Leos like to win. They like to be the best at whatever they may be doing. And laurel is associated with feeling comfortable with winning, being okay. You know, sometimes we're told, oh, you can't win all the time. Laurel's like, yeah, you can. You can be the best. And then you can become the returning champion. And so I think it works really well with helping Leos to feel confident. You know, sometimes Leos may get kind of teased. It may even sound like when we're talking about their good aspects, where we're saying that they're braggarts or, divas and drama queens and like to be at the center of everything and not letting everyone have their turn. But I think Laurel really just lets them be comfortable to go. If you're good at something, there's no need to hold back. If you have something, because when they are in balance, they do lead by from the heart so beautifully. Maybe they should be stepping forward more than maybe the shy Leo will, and Laurel really helps you to do that.
Yeah, I think again that's a really good thing. I think I'd have probably shifted the archetype a little bit. In the yes, they like to win, but the archetype is also the lion is the king, and I think that the oil that best sort of embodies this kingly energy, the person who has supremacy, is Sweet Basil. Um, it, Ocimum basilicum is of the king, the basil of the king. So it has this like real strong strength of I can't speak, real strong sense of force about it. It does also go, we'll get out of your head and just do it, but it steps up and goes, oh, we are going for this, which is very much a Leo thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I've been speaking in other episodes with the zodiac signs talking about the opposing sign. So the opposing sign to Leo is Aquarius. So whereas Leo act from the heart and they're very much act now, and sometimes when they're a bit unbalanced, we'll think later. We'll just do what we want to do because we can do it, kind of thing. Aquarians are very much in their mind. They're almost like the philosopher side, and Leo's act now, think later. Aquarians, I think now, have a bit more of a think for a bit longer, and then we might get round to acting. And so if you find that Leo, if you're true Leo, you may need to bring in some of the Aquarian energy to just be a bit more considerate. And remember that Aquarians are very much about the community and considering everyone. And Leos are renowned when they do become, although they're big hearted, when they're unbalanced, they can become very selfish. Bringing in some of that Aquarian energy can be really quite balancing with them as well. So for that, I'm going to stick with the citruses again, but pettigrain, the leaves of the citrus trees, really good for helping you before your life can bear fruit and blossom and have all these fabulous kind of oils. We just need to have the basics and we need to settle down. So when we need to settle down that Leo that's getting too dramatic, too selfish, diving into things, especially that that they can get very rageful and just start blurting out things and saying things they don't mean and doing things recklessly. When that happens, reach for your pettigrain and go, hold on, stop and have a bit of a think before you keep carrying on like this.
Yeah, that's a good call. I wouldn't have thought of that. But one of the oils that's on my list for exactly the same reason, it isn't one that you would necessarily think of as an essential oil. It's actually an absolute, but most people would use it in a maceration as a carrier oil, and that's calendula. So in last week's episode, I talked about how the composite eye plants have like a corona in the middle, and there are lots and lots of little flowers inside of it. This is the same family. Calendula is the same family. But the reason why it's called calendula is because it comes from the Latin word calens, because it follows the sun. And so how we talked about how Leo likes to be at the center of the universe. Well, actually, the sun's at the center of the universe. And you're talking about how there's like this polarity across the cosmos, if you like, of one zodiac sign is all the way over here and the other one's all the way over here. If you think that the sun is all the way over here and the sun is Leo, the one that's opposite is the one that's watching it. And what calendula do through the day, the reason why they're called calends is because they actually watch the sun all day. So if you've got any in the garden, they actually follow the sun. And so it's like this reflective aspect of looking and just seeing yourself reflected all of the time. And so that would have the same effect as like this Aquarian energy. And of course it's looks like the sun and it is yellow. All of that doctrine of signatures comes through. So I think for any aspect of the medical astrology or anything that a Leo does, to have it in a calendula base as the carrier oil is really powerful stuff to do.
I love that. I think that's perfect. Yeah, very much so. Now, obviously, when we look at Leo, they are represented by the lion, and we think of lions as being, I don't know why they're called king of the jungle. They live in savannas, not jungles, but they are out there. They dominate their environment. They're hunting, they're bringing down big animals and that type of thing. But you'll also notice, just like if you've got a cat at home, they also like to laze around and rest. And this is probably for someone as a Gemini who's constantly mentally stimulated and always wanting to do things. One thing I found rather frustrating dealing with Leo is they will work hard, they'll give their all, but once they get to that point, they couldn't possibly do another thing, and they must lay on the couch and they become absolutely useless. And so that can be, it doesn't matter if there's still work to be done, or if maybe they've worked all day and they couldn't possibly help with dinner because they've done a lion's share of work in that way. And that's where that selfishness can come in as well. I think it's great that they do give themselves that time for leisure and pleasure, but when we need them to be a little bit more empathetic when they are getting too selfish, I haven't done with the citruses yet. Neroli can be really great in that way as well. Neroli helps to create intimacy. It helps to create understanding. It helps us to think outside the box and go, okay, well, maybe not everyone thinks the way that I do, and maybe I should kind of try and understand them, because a selfish, unbalanced Leo can be quite hard to deal with and, quite hard to navigate. They can almost be quite narcissistic in that way. And so a bit of seductive neroli from the orange blossom can be really beautiful as well, to kind of coerce them out and kind of go, hold on, come interact with other people, get off your own little throne where no one else is with you, and come and merge with the world again. So I think neroli could be another good one for Leo.
Sorry to interrupt for just a moment. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Sixth Sense. Now, you're probably getting rather excited about essential oils, and you might be tempted to go out and just grab some. But did you know the essential oil world is not regulated, and a lot of what it says on the label is not governed by anyone? A fun fact, which is not so fun, is that 75% of all oils that are sold as pure, natural, or organic lavender are not even from a plant. So how do you know what's real? Well, I went looking for that question a long time ago, and I found doTERRA to be a really reliable source of high quality essential oils. They don't just test their oils themselves, but at the end of the process, they have an independent third party verify and double check their oils to make sure that you are getting what nature intended purely from the plant. They also source where nature intended the plants to grow as well. If you want to grab hold of some essential oils from doTERRA, then I offer a discount code, and this is available no matter where you are in the world. Now, I don't want everyone to get essential oils. I want everyone to use essential oils. So when you become one of my customers, you get access to me and my VIP education platforms, ongoing discounts, ongoing freebies, live classes in all time zones all around the world, and so much more. So if you're interested in getting some essential oils that you know are really from nature, and this is important not only physically, but metaphysically as well, please reach out in the links below.
That's so funny. I have a lot of Leos in my immediate family, and just, yes, that whole thing of, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't do anything else. I've been working so hard. Thank you. That's just ultimate validation for me. That is. Yeah, and I think from the medical astrology point of view, although it's not ruled by Leo, we'll get into that in a minute, but because they have this competitive nature, I have to be the best, I have to win, I have to have worked hardest, and I probably have worked hardest. The adrenals can really take a kicking with a Leo person. And so even though this isn't really medical astrology, definitely things like lavender and geranium that just soothe, stop, be quiet, are really, really helpful, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's dive into the medical astrology of Leo. Which parts of the body are associated with Leo?
Well, actually, so let's see if you can guess. What would you think?
Well, I was talking about the heart. Is it to do with the heart and the cardiovascular system?
Yeah, exactly right.
Excellent.
Yes, exactly right. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I know that you don't have any actual knowledge of this, but you can kind of feel it as you go into the archetype. You can feel it moving, can't you? And so, yes, Leo rules the heart, obviously the circulatory system. And so from that point of view, that says also the spleen, because spleen manufactures red blood cells. But then also the upper back. So, and actually, you were talking a couple of weeks ago how it's strange how the characteristics of a zodiac sign shift so radically between two signs that are next to each other. Do you remember saying that? I think it was when we were in the Gemini one. And what you see when you're doing medical astrology is they kind of move next to each other. So when we were talking about Cancer, we were talking about how it ruled the breasts. Now we've got into to Leo. It's the chest, so it's actually the same area, but it's a different aspect, and the heart. So it's almost like the slightest ticking of the clock, and it really makes sense that it would be the heart because of the sheer pressure that they put on shining out all of the time, being the very best that they can. It's very rare that a Leo will go to work and only to like coast. It's just not who they are. They are going to put all of their time and effort and emotion into that piece of work, not because it's important to anybody else, but because they want to be recognized and seen for what it will be. And so this nervous system can be really quite difficult because all of this pushing, this directing goes into everything they do. So they love really hard because they want to be seen and they want to be recognized for it. They work really hard. They will be training really hard for marathons and all of that stuff because they want to be the best. And so the heart can obviously take quite a pummeling. So this can be a real weakness in the Leo birth chart. So I would say that probably the most useful oil for them, I've said like geranium and lavender to kind of just calm that. But I think if we're thinking strictly from the point of view of medical astrology, then it would be Ylang Ylang. Because Ylang Ylang is so good at just balancing that space. It will help to bring down blood pressure. It will help to reduce blood volume. It stabilizes the actual heartbeats. So all of those things you can just even just isolated, you can think, oh yeah, I can see how they would lean into high blood pressure. I can see how that you might see atrial fibrillation. So Ylang Ylang is really, really helpful. And I know that you'll ask me a bit later on about applications, and I think inhaling, having like a little aroma pendant around your neck can be really helpful. What I would think though is you can almost say at this time of day, because if they tried to do it while they were working, their whole body would go, no, because the body wants to react to the Ylang Ylang and calm, and everything about the Leo personality is going, but I need to push. So it would be really, really helpful to use in the evening as part of a ritual that like I get home, I switch off, I use my Ylang Ylang. Really, really helpful from that point of view. The other one that I think can be really helpful, again, it's a circulatory oil. It's black pepper. And I kind of thought about using black pepper in the Cancerian one, because the Cancerian person kind of thinks about everybody else first, and then they lose themselves a little bit. That's part of their personality, and that's what black pepper is really good for saying, well, yeah, but what about you? In the Leonine personality, it's a hindrance almost to think about everybody else. So And that's not to say that they're innately selfish. They definitely can be innately selfish. They're almost like they're wearing a train and everybody follows them. That's their archetype. But to actually think about everybody else all of the time can be quite unstabling to them, because again, that goes against their actual archetypical energy. So black pepper does almost the opposite for them. It says, forget about that. What about you? It has a completely like opposite reaction in Cancer. It's doing the same job, but it works differently for them. So within the Cancer archetype, it says, stop thinking about yourself, stop thinking about everybody else, think about yourself, because you're caring from everybody else. But in Leo, it says, stop caring for everybody else. You can just lead. So, and of course, it has this really good effect on the circulatory system as well. You know, it's really supportive to the circulatory system and to the spleen. So again, really, really helpful from that point of view. I've talked about calendula. I think that calendula is so supportive right across the realm. Calendula, if you were like looking at it from a physical point of view, you'd say, well, it doesn't really have that many applications. It's very good for the skin, for like, actually, it's amazing for like radiotherapy burns and things like that. But again, this is like being burnt by the sun, you know, and this idea of being burnt by the sun is kind of working with the shadow aspect of Leo all the time. So I would recommend to any person who has like a strong Leo to just like lean into calendula. I think you would find it really helpful. And then the last thing that I hadn't really thought of until I wrote it down when you were writing. You're quite right that Leos don't like to lose. And actually, a lot of them, they can be really quite far right into life by the time that they do lose, because they have worked so hard they've worked so hard at school. They've put so much energy into their friendships. They're very popular. They score really highly at school, and maybe like with clubs and stuff, perhaps if they've gone to like ballet, immediately they go, nope, that's not for me, I'm out of here. And so they haven't really worked that hard at it. So eventually they will, however, come up to something that they're not very good at. And sometimes they can be like in the 20s and 30s and just not have the coping mechanisms in place because they've never learned those lessons. And I think a tremendous oil for when that happens is an oil that teaches people courage of being ordinary. And that is thyme essential oil. Thyme is so good from the point of view of it's like valor of just the ordinary person. And for a Leo person, the idea of being ordinary would be like the worst psychiatric break possible. So thyme is really good at saying, there's this part of your psyche you have never filled. This little hole has no understanding of this at all. Let me show you. And thyme is really good for that. Yeah.
I haven't heard that aspect of time before, for just being, being great at being ordinary. That's a really interesting aspect that I think, yeah, it's interesting when you talk about Leo in that context. I think about how sometimes they rise early and kind of don't have that strong foundation and can kind of come crashing down type of thing, which is, yeah, something to be mindful of. So yeah, time would be a really great one for that as well. So remember, the oils that we are sharing with you are our suggestions, but they can help Leos, those dealing with Leos, and also if you have a lot of Leo in your birth chart. You can also work with these oils when the full moon or the new moon is in Leo, or something else is happening around Leo as well. One final tip I will give you for Leos: they are renowned for loving their hair, and they love their hair, and they love compliments. So if you need to woo a Leo, tell them how good their hair looks, and give them a compliment or two, and they're putty in your hands. If you'd like to dive deeper into some of the essential oils that we've been discussing today, we've gone into depth with many of them, and you'll see them start popping up around the screen in playlists and other videos that you can dive into and get a really deep understanding of that. But please let us know which oils you love for your Leos as well in the comments, so we can all learn from each other as well. We'll see you again. We're nearly halfway through the zodiac signs, but we've still got some really interesting ones to flesh out. And we'll see you soon. Until then, take care and blessed be.
Just a reminder that you can look up any of the oils that we've talked about and their safety in the playlist. If you go to the Leo playlist, all of the oils we've talked about will pop up, and you'll be able to do deep dives into any of those to look at the safety and other applications of it. In the meantime, bye-bye.
I'm Elizabeth Ashley, UK Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder of the Aromatic Mystery School, where essential oils meet the deeper, more mystical side of healing. Here you'll explore the spiritual, emotional and energetic dimensions of plants and learn how to weave them into your own rituals and well-being practices. If you're ready to work in a way that nourishes both your soul and your senses, join us at the Aromatic Mystery School. The link's right below.